clap.
Now my dogs just said, "Where's Mom? What did I do?" I'm Donna Zils Banfield. I'm a wood artist, and we're in my studio in Derry, New Hampshire. My studio was built by my husband and I and some members of the wood turning community over a 3-year period. We built it from the tree down. We literally felled some trees, hauled them over to our yard, and we had a sawmill set up, and we milled the barn board and the beams, and my husband and I cut the mortise and tenons. And this structure that I'm in is my studio today. Without the help of the wood turning community, I would not have this. Without the help of the wood turning community, I would not be the wood turner that I am today. I started out refinishing some old furniture that I inherited from my mother and my grandfather in the 90s, and I was using it as a way to de-stress from my full-time job. I found myself running home, racing home, to get the last few hours of sunlight left to be able to work on the furniture. My husband took note of that, and during that time period, we were regular attendees at the annual Craftsman Fair of the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen, and I have maybe 30 or 40 pieces that I've purchased from artists at that fair in my home. I saw a wood turning demonstration during the fair, and while all my friends and neighbors that we attended the fair with were buying the jewelry and the glass and the clay, I wanted to watch the wood turning demonstrations. One year he surprised me with a lathe and some turning tools for a Christmas gift. I didn't ask for it, and we're still married. And within 6 weeks, I outgrew that lathe that he bought. He didn't know the artist inside me, and neither did I. There was something that clicked with working with my hands and working with the wood, and it was something that I really had to do. Where I was going to go, I didn't know at the time, but I had to do it. When you find something that you want to do it every waking minute of the day and are willing to lose sleep to do it, it just comes naturally. It certainly came natural to me, and I had to do it enough that I didn't want to practice law anymore. So I closed my practice in the beginning of 2004 to do this full time, and I've never regretted that decision. Before wood turning, my obsession was photography. And when I moved to New Hampshire, I always had at the time, it was a film camera with me. So I've got a lot of images of camping and hiking in the White Mountains. And so that is a foundation for some of the memories that I use to create the work. And then today, images that I take out in my backyard or on walks. Robert Frost Farm is a place I've been going lately. I have wood that was salvaged from the Robert Frost Farm in the mid-90s, and I have made memorial pieces from that wood and still have a few pieces left. I have a series of a body of work that is influenced by the New England landscape. I love sunsets and sunrises, and I love the appearance of twilight, and I'm trying to recreate those images on the wood that I make. And by the time I get finished, you might not even see that it's wood anymore. It starts as either an image that I took on my phone now, something I might have created in my sketchbook, something that I might have seen in my travels. Then I find the wood. Most of my wood starts with a tree that has been removed from urban development or disease. I create the form using a wood lathe. The wood lathe holds the piece of wood and spins it while I'm holding tools to cut the wood. And then from that point, it goes to a number of places in my studio to do carving on it, wood burning on it, painting using paintbrushes or airbrushes, and then the final finish. Every time I'm going to create a piece, I already know what the end result is going to be, or I have an idea in my mind. It's rare that I will make a change in how I progress through the piece from the time that I cut the log, put it on the lathe to shape it. I know exactly how tall it needs to be, how wide it needs to be, how thin the walls need to be, or how thick I need the walls to be, because I've got a specific intended art that I'm going to use on it. So for example, if I'm going to make a piece that is carved or pierced through, the wood has to be turned very thin. And if I were to put a time on turn to artwork, for every hour that I spent making the form on the lathe, I estimate a 10 to 12 hours on top of that for every hour on the lathe that I spend. So I have pieces that I've spent 50 to 60, maybe 100 hours on. I know who owns every piece. I keep a journal of what happened every day, what pieces sold, who bought them, and the names of the people who bought them. And I remember what they bought, and I remember their names, because it's important to me that they own a piece of my soul. And I like to know where I'm living. I've had people who I've seen in my booth for several years in a row before they finally decide that's the year they need to own one of my pieces. So that's very satisfying to me, that they were looking for the right piece, not just to buy something, but they needed the right one. The one thing that I like to do more than anything with my work is to not follow the crowd. So people who look at my work, sometimes they aren't even aware that it's wood until they pick it up or until I tell them it's wood. I get my inspiration not from seeing other people's wood or wood turning, but I get inspiration from looking at glass, fabric, baskets, jewelry, or ceramics. Those are all areas that I can draw inspiration from, and I can make my work look more like theirs, but not, because the structure is completely different. So I find that challenging, I find that exciting, and it keeps me from getting bored with my work. It's important for me to know where I began, especially because I teach wood turning to beginners and intermediate turners, and they look at my work and they're saying to themselves, I will never get to that point. And that's not true. They have the ability to do that if they put in the time. So, and it's important for me to remember where I started. So I have my very first pieces that I've made, and I have them in this studio sitting on a shelf to remind me of where I started, how I began, and how far I've gone. And I do that same thing with my series or my bodies of work. I hang on to the firsts of the work that I've made. It's important to remember what the first piece looked like, and maybe the 25th or the 30th or the 50th piece, because it's good to see that transition, that progress. So how I knew how to paint or what color to use and what pattern that it should take, that all came with the 10,000 hours of time spent. And that makes the difference. You have to put in the time to be able to know what forms to make, to know what forms work with what shapes that you're going to carve then. And there's no shortcuts to that. You have to put in the time. Can you tell that the artist was obsessed with the detail? I think that's a theme that follows through all the work that I make today. I am obsessed with the detail. I learned early on in my wood turning that my brain would not allow me to not spend or obsess over an area that I thought needed more attention. So I think that shows up in the work that I create, that I obsess over those details. But it's very satisfying. One of my mentors a long time ago had told me, when you make work, don't make a copy of someone else's work, because you don't want to be someone who can make good copies. What you'd like to have someone do is be able to recognize a piece that you've made from across the room and know that it's distinctly your signature. So that's what I've always strived for. And it takes a long time to meet that signature work. It takes a lot of making the same thing over and over and over and over again until you've perfected it to the point where everything you do has that particular flavor. So that's what my goal is, to make a piece that looks like a Donna Banfield and not a copy of someone else's work. Hopefully in 100 years, or maybe 100 years from now, I hope they still are using the phrase "wow," because that's what I hear from the people who pick up my work. This is beautiful. I can't believe this is wood. I've never seen anything like this. Maybe 100 years from now, they will see in me, in my work, that I was the foundation for someone who looked at my work and made it better. That they made their own signature piece, but used my work as the inspiration to create their new art. So that's why I teach. That's why I encourage people to jury into the league. That's why I'm a wood juror, because it's important that this stuff continues to live on beyond my life, beyond my students' life, and I hope that it continues to live beyond when we're no longer on this planet.